Europeans are returning to paganism. This was from 2 years ago, but you can find a ton of videos. I mean, at one time, the whole world was really in paganism. But I started listening. I listened to almost all of it, and I can't blame him because he said, he's going back to his Norse pagan roots. And it's because, he said when Christianity came in, because it came in through the Vatican. Because they forced it. They killing people if they didn't convert. And so I can't blame him there, Who I blame is the Vatican, though. Because they've never been a legit Christian church. They're the most foul paganism we have. It's because of this kind of stuff why, too, God will burn that Vatican one day. Be grateful if you're in America because, well, our roots don't go back to paganism. They don't. I'm not saying there's not been pagans, but it's not where our roots started, not for America. They started with the Protestants. I mean, all those different sects of them. From Presbyterians to the Quakers, all of them. They came over here because of what the Vatican did there. Because I listening to this guy, he's reasonable, What's sad though is that when you look into the legit Christian movements, it wasn't about a church. Because Jesus didn't talk about wanting a church building. That's the reason why the disciples in the early Christian church had communities, Christian communities. Of course, the Vatican couldn't have that. They had to have all their pagan control. But they would go into areas, say like England. Well, not like Scotland. I think it was Scotland. I had read. And so early, they had Christian communities. Some people come through and tell them about Jesus. And then, a little while after that, the big old Vatican coming in with their ridiculous wardrobes on and telling them this is how you have to worship. Yeah, so there's so many reasons God, he is a patient God. He is, because he will crush them. Because this is sad. It's sad because I don't. He's a reasonable guy. He's not some witch or anything. It's just it makes more sense to him with all the violence of being forced to. Yet you cannot force Christianity on people. Of course you cannot. But the Vatican is not a representation of Christianity. That's what I'm tired of. Like at some point when every other church disagrees with with everything, and your history is that you lied to the very people that founded America in the beginning, okay? Then, at some point, I don't think you should be allowed to hold yourself up as Christian anymore. I mean, call yourself pagan, call yourself Catholic, just, half the time you don't ever talk about Jesus. You're more interested in Mary anyway, okay? And it's all, you have Catholics there in France, okay? That, again, in Basque Country, which is, partly in Basque Country's partly in Spain, partly in France, and they use a pagan god. I mean, this is what the Protestants were saying. You didn't get rid of your pagan gods. The thing that I think is concerning, though, is that when you do have all these pagan gods, that's when God hands you over. Yeah, that's the danger. I mean, with all of this, is that even though I don't think this is the answer, I get why he's saying this, because when you have a fake, phony, false version of Christianity come through your country like the Vatican, and all they wanted to do was just be violent. I mean, that's all the Vatican is violent in their history, along with being, wearing dresses all the time. But all their violence throughout history, then of course that's going to drive people eventually down the line back to their roots. And yet this isn't what God wanted, But you can't force it on people, and yet it was spreading the right way, the way Jesus wanted. The Vatican doesn't know Jesus, but and neither do any of their popes or priests. Or, I mean, forget it, they don't. But Jesus, in the beginning knew it was people were understanding it, and that Christian community is what was being passed on, but the Vatican had to come in and ruin everything like they always do. So, but what ends up happening though is whether you have the pagan, Christian, Catholic stuff, which is, in my opinion, it's just they no matter how much they say they're Christian, no, their acts show that more of paganism. Because you at least have to align with Jesus on some things, and you really don't over there. But you don't really care. They do it on purpose to rub it in real Christians' faces. I'm sure of it. But is that if you do have, once your country does go back to like the paganism stuff, then God turns his back on you, and then that's how you get like your Holocaust and stuff, because you get turned over to your enemy. That's what's sad about this. Yeah, and the Vatican has been the most disgraceful of all pagan religions. Really, I would put the Vatican up there easily with the Baal worshiping and the Moloch stuff. Easily. And then this on top of it, where people... Yeah, there's a lot of videos. So maybe, that's why Europe doesn't really allow free speech. Right? I mean, that's come out that they're always, going after Musk and a lot of these social medias for, I don't know, because they don't allow free speech over there. So, they're very controlling of it, put it that way. But it's sad. I hate to see, the people go back to this. So if you're American, even if you hate Christianity, you should be really grateful that you were born in a country where your founding wasn't on paganism. It was actually on Christianity, because most countries, from Scotland to England, all of these older countries, they were all practicing paganism because it's what everybody did. But America, well, we were founded because of those early, different sects of Protestantism coming here. Thank God for that. May we never forget it.